If you're looking for a monitor that works well with PC and Mac, but's great for gaming, you're definitely going to want to check out this video. This is Jlink's E27QP4K. It's a 27-inch HDR VA panel monitor with a resolution of 2560 by 1440. It's got a super fast response time of 1 millisecond for MPRT and 5 milliseconds for GTG, which is excellent for gaming. It also has a crisp 165 Hz refresh rate, which combined with the response time will give you that competitive edge when gaming. It has a brightness of 350 nits. It's got 106 sRGB color gamut and a contrast ratio of 4000 to 1. It also has a really cool built-in feature that's excellent, especially if you like to play shooting games like Call of Duty and PUBG. This monitor definitely has a lot going for it, and I will be going over everything that you're going to want to know, so make sure you stick around till the end of the video. If you want to pick up this monitor, now is definitely the best time, because between now and November 28, 2022, you can get an extra $50 off this monitor, which brings it down to about $189. And I will be putting a link in the description in case you guys want to pick it up yourself. And if you guys like me and you want to support my channel, please use those links because it helps me keep purchasing products to do reviews to you guys. So as far as build quality goes, it does seem to be built pretty well. It is made of all plastic except for the stand here. It is all metal. It also has a little joystick button on the back that you can use to make selections on the menu, as well as turn the monitor off and on. It also has a clean looking face with nice thin bezels that give the monitor a nice aesthetic look. The monitor is also VESA compatible, and you can easily put it on and take it off the little stand here with the use of this little lever. One thing to also note, the monitor does not have built-in speakers, so you'll have to attach speakers using the little 3.5-inch jack. Now the monitor also has some really cool RGB LEDs along the top area of the back of the monitor. It cycles through colors automatically, but you cannot control the colors. The lighting can also be disabled. The monitor also has height adjustment, and at its highest point, it's about 6 inches from the table, and from its lowest point, it's about 2.5 inches. The monitor also has tilt, swivel, and rotation capabilities. You can rotate the screen up to 90 degrees. Now, if we look at our ports here we have our power port. We also have a USB Type-A port that's used for firmware upgrades, but you can also use it to power 5-volt devices. Here's our HDMI 2.0 port that can do up to 2560 by 1440 at 144 Hz. And then we have two 1.2 display ports that can do up to 2560 by 1440 at 165 Hz. And then here we have our 3.5-inch millimeter headphone jack. Now when it comes to gaming, this monitor has some pretty cool built-in options. If we look under the gaming setup and the settings, here we have the FreeSync and G-Sync. You want to turn that on if you're using your Xbox Series X or PlayStation 5, because that allows you to then use the VRR. And then we come to Game Plus. This is where it has a couple cool built-in options. So one, we have a timer that you can turn on in case you want to play for a certain amount of time. It shows up on the screen. It also has a built-in crosshair. So if you're playing a game that doesn't have a crosshair built into it, the monitor will turn on its own crosshair and keep you centered in the middle of the display at all times. It also has a FPS counter, which we can see if I turn the settings off here. As you can see in the corner, I am running at 120 Hz refresh rate right now, and it looks absolutely amazing. As you can see, we have a few different options for that crosshair. We have a couple different colors and a couple different styles. So I'll just go ahead and turn on the green dot here. So here, as you can see, it put the little green crosshair. So if you're playing FPS shooter games and you don't necessarily have a crosshair like in PUBG here, if you just hip fire, you don't really necessarily have a crosshair that you can easily see. Well, this will always give you that crosshair in the middle of the screen. And then here we have that timer. They put it in the left-hand corner of the screen. As you can see, it's counting down for 15 minutes. Now, as far as the Game Plus options, you can only have one on at any given time. So right now I have the crosshairs. If you want the FPS, that'll be on and it'll turn the crosshairs off. So that's just something to keep in mind. So now if we look into our settings here, as you can see, it is running at 2560 at 1440 120 Hertz, and we do have the FreeSync G-Sync on. Here we have our display options. We have brightness, contrast, black equalize. We have some presets. You can set the aspect ratio, and we have our sharpness. Here you can change the color temperature, the gamma, hue, saturation, and it also has a blue light filter on there to help your eyes. Here we have the gaming setup. Here we have our inputs, the DisplayPort 1 and 2, our HDMI. We have our system set where you can change the language, the on-screen display setup. You can change the audio, and now again, it doesn't have built-in speakers, but if you have something connected to the 3.5-inch millimeter headphone jack, you can change that volume from here or mute it. You can reset your options or do a USB upgrade. And then here we have the user data. So if you want to make different profiles for different things, you can do that in here. Now you also don't need to go into the full settings because it has some quick settings depending on which way you push that little button in. Pretty convenient. Okay, so here we're going to play a little PUBG. We're going to be testing out the refresh rate and the response time. This is on my Xbox Series X, and we're running at 1440p at 120 Hertz. Now this is a really nice setup. As you can see, I do have a little soundbar sitting right underneath the monitor, and I am utilizing that USB port. So even though it is for service, it does output power, and I'm using it to power the little soundbar there. And then I just have the plug plugged into the headphone jack. So now I've turned on the FPS counter so you can see it's running at 120 Hertz, and like I said before, it is really smooth. There's absolutely no input lag whatsoever, no tearing, smearing. It looks absolutely amazing. So now I'm going to turn off some of my lights and we'll see what the screen looks like then. So now I've turned off all the lights in my studio, and the only light you're seeing now is from the screen itself. So this is where the crosshair really comes in handy on the screen. I just picked up a gun that doesn't have an attachment, and if I look down the sight, as you can see, I still have the little red dot in the middle of the screen to give me a reference point to when I'm shooting. Okay, so now we're going to play some Forza 6. We'll see how well the monitor responds with this type of game. And as you can see, I do have the FPS counter on. It is at 120. So I think everything looked pretty good. I didn't see any ghosting, any tearing. The FPS stayed at a constant 120. I think the picture looks absolutely amazing, and the dimming that you saw while I was going through the game was the dynamic contrast ratio setting, kind of lowering the brightness here and there. You can turn that off if it does bother you, but it's always there to kind of try to make the picture better. So here we are in the Xbox Series X settings. As you can see, I have my resolution set at 1440p. The refresh rate is at 120 Hertz. And then in the general video modes, you want to make sure that you have the allow variable refresh rate checked so you don't have any of those tearing or stuttering during your gameplay. And as you can see, it also has options for HDR10 as well. Okay, so here I have my monitor hooked up to my PC. As you can see, we are running at 144 Hertz at a display resolution of 2560 at 1440. And I must say, it is absolutely crisp. I mean, look at, I don't know if you guys could tell on the video because it's only 24 frames per second, but when I'm moving this little window around, there's absolutely no lag whatsoever. It's just silky smooth. And this is using the HDMI cable. So I did go into the settings and change the picture quality up to the way that I thought it looked best. And the colors do look really nice. They do pop very well. Now I want to take a look at the contrast ratio. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off all my lights and we're going to see what the contrast ratio kind of looks like on this screen. All right, so I do have all the lights turned off in my studio now, and the screen actually looks really nice. I don't really see any blooming around the screen from what I can tell. I don't have the dynamic contrast ratio on. I'll go ahead and turn that on and we'll see what that does for the picture quality. But as of right now, everything is really nice and crisp. You can easily see the text. I kind of like the way that it is right now. I'm not really a big fan of the dynamic contrast ratio because it just makes the picture look kind of weird because it dims a lot. So that is with the dynamic contrast ratio on. So it looks like it's pretty evenly lit around the whole screen. But again, I'm going to go ahead and make the whole screen black and we're going to take a look at the contrast then. So the dynamic contrast ratio setting does do what it's supposed to do, but I kind of like the way that it was before. I like it a little brighter, but either way, the picture still looks really good. So as you can see for the color, I have everything set myself. And the display, I'm also not using a preset. I kind of set it up the way that I like it, and I think it looks really sharp. So here we are looking at a totally black wallpaper. This is not going to be a realistic situation, so you're not going to really see a lot of things we might see in a totally black background, because the majority of the time you're going to have something on the screen that's going to have some light to it. Now I know on the camera you do see some of this purple area over here that you really don't see unless you're really not looking at the screen dead on. Now I don't see any light bleed from the back panel, and there might be that little bit of blooming on the edge there, but you're not going to see that normally. And when I say that, I'll go ahead and open up these settings here. I'll close that. So here we are looking at your desktop screen that you would normally see. In the middle here, we have a brightly lit area, and then around it is all darker. And now you can't see that purple area that we did when it was totally black, because this is a more realistic situation. So I definitely think that you're going to be happy with the picture quality, even when you're looking at darker scenes. So I definitely think the contrast ratio on this monitor is pretty good. I don't see any washing out of the darks in the background. There is a very slight haze, but for a monitor of this price, I think contrast ratio is excellent. So now we're going to take a look at the viewing angle. I'm going to go ahead and turn it kind of 180 degrees. You're not going to be looking at the screen like that, but this is pretty much what you can expect if you're looking at the screen from this drastic angle. And if we turn it 30 degrees, as you can see, you can pretty much see exactly the same as what you saw from when I had it turned just like this. So viewing angles on this monitor are excellent. So now we're still hooked up to my PC. I've now switched over to the DisplayPort cable that came with the monitor. As you can see, we are on the DisplayPort here. We're at 2560 at 1440 native at a refresh rate of 165 Hertz. And as you can see from the FPS counter in the corner, we are showing that. And I must say, I mean, it seems just as quick as the 144, but it's just, there's absolutely no lag whatsoever. It just seems surreal. You have to experience it for yourself if you've never seen it. Now, in case you're wondering, the monitor does auto switch inputs, which is really nice. Right now, I'm on the HDMI input. We're capped out at 144 Hertz. So now I'm going to switch over to the DisplayPort, which is on monitor number 1, and you'll see that the Hertz have now switched to 165. And there you go. So we are on DisplayPort now at 165 Hertz. I'll go ahead and show you that we are on the DisplayPort. So we go under change resolution. As you can see, it is on the DisplayPort right now at 2560 at 1440, 165 Hertz. So here we are playing a little Doom on my PC. We are running at the native resolution of 2560 at 1440, and as you can see in the top right hand corner, we're running at 165 Hertz. The picture quality looks absolutely stunning. Everything's running nice and smooth. There's absolutely no input lag whatsoever. I'm very impressed with the quality of this monitor, especially playing PC games at 165 hertz. And just to show you that I'm actually running that, here you can see 2560 at 1440 at 165 hertz. And just to show you that I am on my PC, there you go. So if you're wondering how this monitor works with Macs, here is my MacBook Pro 16-inch. I am using the HDMI cable that was connected to my PC, and it is connected to the monitor right now. As you can see, you can put it all the way up to 144 hertz, and it's running at its native resolution of 2560 by 1440. So it seems to be working perfectly fine with my MacBook Pro. So if you want to use this monitor for editing photos, or if you want to use it for editing videos, everything is nice and sharp on the monitor, and it's easy to see. And like I said before, the color representation looks pretty good as well. Now I know you guys can't tell this from this video because it doesn't go up to, 144 hertz, but I'm going to tell you that when I move the window on the MacBook, the Pro motion is pretty smooth. But when I move it over to the external display and move the window around, it's actually even smoother. And that's because the Pro motion on the MacBook is only 120 hertz, whereas the monitor does 144. So there's a slight difference. But everything on the monitor is nice and crisp, easy to see, and it makes an excellent external monitor in case you need something besides your MacBook. So if you're looking for an external monitor for your MacBook that looks better than the ProMotion's refresh rate, this is an excellent option. So whether you like to game or you just need a monitor for your PC or Mac, I would definitely recommend checking out this monitor because it has a lot of really great things going for it between the specs and the features. You really can't go wrong for $189. And as you saw from the video, the picture quality is absolutely amazing. Color looks good. Contrast ratio is also really good. And I also really like the way that the monitor looks. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. I also really love the fact that it can do 144 hertz when hooked up to a MacBook Pro, because when you're using your MacBook with ProMotion, it's kind of jarring going from that quick refresh rate down to a monitor that only has 60 hertz, but with this monitor, you don't have to worry about that. It actually gives you a much better refresh rate than the ProMotion does on the MacBook. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that little notification bell to let you guys know when I put out new videos. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.